On August 24th, Unity filed their initial paperwork with the SEC in an attempt to become a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange under the trading symbol U. And today, we're going to talk about it. So Unity just filed their registration statement with the Securities and Exchange Commission, also known as the SEC, just a few days ago. And this is the first step for them in order to become a publicly traded company where individuals or businesses can purchase shares of stock to invest in the Unity company. And while this does not guarantee that Unity is going to become a publicly traded company, I thought it would be fun today to go through some of the interesting things that I found in this registration statement. Also, we can talk about if them going public is a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe talk about if you should invest in Unity and if I'm going to invest in Unity. And I just want to put in a quick disclaimer at the beginning of this video. I'm not a financial advisor. Don't take any of this stuff as financial advice. This is all just kind of for education and for fun. So speaking of that, if you did find today's video enjoyable, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like button. Also feel free to subscribe to the channel for lots more videos on topics related to video game development. Of course, if you have any questions for me or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. So let's dive right in. So like I mentioned, Unity filed their S1 registration form, which is pretty much the first step that a company takes when they want to take their company public. And this form isn't some just like simple little sheet that you fill out at the DMV. This is a serious, extremely long form. It's nearly 300 pages long. Of course, I'll leave a link to the original submission down in the description below so you can kind of look through it if you'd like. Because of course this form is publicly available now that Unity is going to be a publicly traded company. However, there are a couple redactions from the publicly available one, such as what the exact share price is going to be when there actually is the IPO, the initial public offering. And from what I've found during my 2-minute Google search, it seems like it takes about 3 to 4 months from the time when this form is submitted until a company actually goes public. So we could very likely see Unity becoming a publicly traded company by the end of the year. Now, this form being as long as it is, it actually includes a bunch of interesting things. It's not all completely boring legalese stuff. It includes a lot of really interesting stats about the company and talks a little bit about the direction that they're going to be moving forward in as it becomes a publicly traded company. So I'm just going to run through a couple of the stats that I found pretty impressive here. So Unity claims to have 1.5 million monthly active creators, which is pretty incredible to think that there are over 1.5 million people using Unity every single month. And another thing they pointed out is that 50% of all games are made with Unity. Half of all games are made with Unity, which is just incredible to show the amount of volume of games that are constantly being produced with the Unity game engine. And of all those games, there's over 3 billion app downloads per month of Unity games. Those are some serious numbers. And moving along, there's actually about 15,000 new projects created in Unity every single day. And there are Unity creators in 190 countries around the world. So those are some really, really incredible numbers. It just goes to show, how amazing and how much of an almost cultural impact at this point that the Unity game engine has had on the world. And then they talk about some of the industries they're involved in. Of course, they're involved heavily in the games industry, kind of like I was mentioning. They're also going into the entertainment and media type industries. So, things like film and animation. And more recently, Unity started to get involved in architecture, engineering, and construction. There's just a whole bunch of kind of like 3D visualization things, especially integrations with augmented reality and virtual reality. And going even further, Unity is involved in the automotive, transport, and manufacturing industries. So it just goes to show, even though Unity is a game engine, it's very powerful and it can do a bunch of other things, which is something that they're really trying to show off to other investors. Now that has me concerned a little bit because it makes me feel like they're shifting the focus away from games maybe just a little bit, because I feel like there is a whole lot of money to be made in some of those bigger industries from these like mega corporations. But as I continue to read throughout this form, they do keep mentioning, all the creators and how important that all these individual creators are to their company. And a section of this form was actually a letter from the CEO, John Riccitiello, and I'll just read a quick little excerpt from it here. He says, "One of the most enjoyable and surprising days I can recall was from the fall of 2013 when I attended one of Unity's customer events outside of Vancouver. I watched independent game creators applaud the speakers like they were at a concert for their favorite band. I met creators, people who just a year or two earlier worked in warehouses as accountants and as teachers, who attributed their ability to work in the games industry to the existence of Unity and Unity's tools. And this is one of those things that makes me think that even though Unity is branching out into all these other industries, that they're really not forgetting where they came from and what put them on the map in the first place. Now, another incredibly interesting thing is when they showed the consolidated financial data over the past couple of years. And one of the things that they mentioned is that Unity has actually never turned a profit in the 15 plus years that they've been in business. And in fact, while they had a gross profit of $229.5 million and $423.2 million in 2018 and 2019 respectively, they still operated at a net loss of $131.6 million and $163.2 million in 2018 and 2019 respectively. And they went on to say that in the company's 15-year history, they have an accumulated deficit of over $500 million. And they also do a little bit of a breakdown of where that money is actually being spent. And it's nice to see that the majority of that money is being spent in research and development. So this does tell me that they are trying to improve their products and services to better serve the end customers. Now, another interesting part of the document is where they went over the risk factors about some of the risks associated with investing in their company. And they actually include a total of 60 risk factors and an additional 14 risk factors specifically related to investing in common stock. And all these 45 pages of risk factors basically explain why specifically investing in Unity is a risky reason. And if you are considering investing in Unity, I would highly recommend, first of all, reading through all these risk factors yourself, and then second of all, speaking with a financial advisor and seeing if that makes financial sense for your situation. A couple of the notable risk factors, of course, one is that Unity has a history of losses and they've operated at a loss for every single year of their history. Another interesting one is that a large portion of their revenue actually comes from revenue sharing and cloud services. So of course, revenue sharing is if you made a game with Unity and you make over a certain number of money, eventually at a point you do have to split out your revenue with a portion of that going to Unity. They also talk about how expanding into different industries can be risky. Ideally, I would want Unity to focus on making games, but if they do expand into other industries and the game developers can benefit from that, I'd say that's probably a net positive thing in the end. And throughout all these risk factors, they do always talk about, making the end user happy, which is something that I'm glad that they're focusing on still. So this kind of brings up the question is if Unity Public is a good thing or a bad thing, or if it's just a thing. And of course, right now, it is impossible to tell how this is going to play out in the end, and if it's going to end up being, the best decision ever or a terrible decision. But a lot of times when a company goes public, you'll see a shift in focus. The shift in focus is away from the customer, making the customer as happy as possible by delivering, a superior or product or service to their competitors. And they shift that focus away towards the investors because now the financial interest is with them because that's where, the big money is really being made. And so a lot of times you see companies do things like they'll outsource their support because they don't want to spend as much on support. And it ends up being, not as good as of a customer experience for the end user. And again, I'm not saying this is going to be the case with Unity specifically. Pretty much everyone that I've had interactions with who worked at Unity has been extremely positive. There's a ton of excellent people who work there who are all clearly passionate about, video games and whatever their specific role is within the company. But I would really just hate to see Unity turn into one of those companies who kind of neglects their end users and, the game developers, the people who put them on the map to begin with, in favor for, making their bottom line look better for the investors. But again, I do still have hope that this is going to be a good thing for them moving forward because like I mentioned that, throughout this whole document, they still talk about the creators and the game developers. And they're aware that if those people are happy and they're continually making games for their platform, that's going to be a huge source of income for them. And also with Unity being a publicly traded company, that has the potential to mean more investment money. And, like I mentioned, you'll see that a lot of their financials are going towards research and development. So we might see, if a lot more money is being put towards research and development, we can have, much more amazing features as part of the Unity game engine. But just remember that no matter what happens, these changes do not happen overnight. And it's not going to be like the day that Unity goes public, we're going to see all sorts of these changes and all of a sudden they turn into, the worst company ever, or just like, the best company ever with like a ton of things. So now I think it's time to talk about if I plan on investing in Unity. And the short answer to the question is no. And it's not because that I don't think that, Unity is going to be a very successful stock. It's clear that Unity is on the up and up, and they have a bunch of sources of revenue from many different places. And personally, I would be certainly interested in looking into invest in Unity if it wasn't for this YouTube channel. So this is pretty much the main thing that's kind of holding me back from investing in Unity, because with this channel, I think there would be a major conflict of interest if I had some sort of financial investment in the Unity company. Again, like I mentioned, I think Unity is a great company. They have an awesome product. All the people that I've interacted with who work there have just been absolutely fantastic. But at the same time, I am willing to criticize them and call them out on certain things that maybe I don't agree with. And I think that Unity is just one of those companies who are really always listening to the consumer, at least they have been in the past. And you can see this, for example, with the Unity Dark Mode. They finally enabled Unity Dark Mode for all users, even if you're on the free edition of Unity, because that's something that people have been asking for quite a long time. But if I were to invest in Unity, then I could see how people might think that maybe the things that I'm saying about the Unity company is going to be shifted one way or another, because I do have a financial interest in them, and I want to always promote Unity and I'll only talk about the good things about them and things of that nature. I would never want people to not trust what I'm saying because I have a financial interest in some certain company. So anyways, like I said at the top, don't take any of this here as financial advice. This is all just kind of for educational and fun purposes. Ultimately, if you do decide to invest in Unity, that decision is up to you, and any profits or losses that you may receive from that is of course all on you. Be sure to read through the risk factors before investing and speak with your financial advisor. So anyways, if you did find today's video helpful or enjoyable at all, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like button. Also feel free to subscribe to the channel for lots more videos on game development and things about the Unity game engine. Of course, if you have any questions for me or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. But I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.